Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Talk with Hawk podcast. I am Hawk, and it is a gorgeous week as training camps are getting ready to go into full swing. The rookies are there, the stars are there, everybody's reporting. Football is back. And here we go. We have got 32 teams. 32 teams that right now are slicing and dicing and going through the roster, figuring out who we can keep, who we can't keep. How many positions do we want to keep on this? How many of these position players do we want to keep here? You have got a ton of decisions by the coaching staff and the front office that will be laid out very, very quickly. So these are going to be a little bit different. I've got a different graphic on the screen for you guys. Still going to kind of do a coin flip, but legitimately, what we're going to do is we've got 32 teams. All right, there's not enough content. Let's just be honest. There's not enough football content to go 5 days a week right now with this podcast. That's going to have to wait till preseason games and other news, and then we get into week one, watching what's happening. So for now, what we're going to do is simply we're going to have first half, second half with the coin flip. That's all we're going to do. We're going to turn this into, for lack of a better term, a college basketball game. We're just going to play two halves instead of four quarters. And we're going to go down the depth chart of each team. Now, this is currently training camp. I want to get through all of these before they make the final roster cuts, just to see who's on the depth chart the way it is. So these are raw. These are the original depth charts that came out after mini camps, that are currently uploaded, projected, looking at what they've got. So we're going to run down the depth charts of each team. We're going to do two teams per podcast. So should be 16 podcasts, and that should get us close to the end of training camp. And obviously, we will be keeping track of other news. So the coin flip. How do we open this one up? Really, this is how I want. This is what I was thinking about actually last night. The Brandon Ayuk situation and how it has unfolded. I commented on this in the last podcast. With the money that receivers all of a sudden started getting, and let's be very clear, it was all of a sudden. Nobody understood why. Do I believe Justin Jefferson is worth the money he's being paid? Absolutely not. Sorry. Absolutely, positively, no. And you're going to say, but look at what he does. Absolutely. Did his team make the playoffs? Did his team win a playoff game? No. Offensive line and quarterback. Now, you can disagree with the offensive line thing because of the Cincinnati Bengals, and I will give that to you. But offensive line and quarterback are the two most important things. In the playoffs last year, what we thought was the weakness of the Kansas City Chiefs, which, by the way, it was their right side of their offensive line. Andy Reid knew. He knew that was a problem. in the game against Buffalo and in the Super Bowl. He chipped and he overprotected the right side of the offensive line. He knew where the failure was. He addressed it, took care of it, and that was it. That's simple. Your offensive line has to be solid. It doesn't have to be great. But you got to have one. The Chiefs didn't need a number one, quote unquote, receiver to win the Super Bowl. Not at all. The Minnesota Vikings have TJ Hockenson, arguably one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL. They now have Aaron Jones as their running back, which the Dalvin Cook situation still kind of confuses me. And he's still unsigned. And my thought process has been for a while that the Cowboys should sign him. Don't know why he's unsigned. I'm not sure if he's out of shape, whatever it may be. But why are receivers making so much money when we just drafted guys? We got a draft with potentially 7 starting wide receivers. And you're going to see a couple of them and hear a couple of them in this podcast. So why are we doing that? I don't get it. The 49ers are smart. They know Ayuk is not worth Amon-Ra St. Brown money. He's never going to get that many catches. He's never going to have that amount of productivity because his productivity is legitimately just like Brock Purdy. And I'm sorry, if there's Brock Purdy fans out there, I apologize. The guy is not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He proved it in the Super Bowl when Shanahan couldn't trust him to make the plays to win the game. To win the game. Everything had to be perfect. Brock Purdy does not have that much talent. Everything is because, most everything is because of Kyle Shanahan. The offensive scheme helps those players. Great players become superstars. Christian McCaffrey. Good players become great players. George Kittle. He wasn't this type of tight end until Kyle Shanahan. He was good. He's great now. Deebo Samuel would have been a good receiver. He's arguably one of the best utility knives in the NFL. Ayuk, like I said in the last one, has only been good for a year. So do not be surprised if the way that everything is playing out, do not be surprised if there's teams that are going to walk back contracts for receivers. It's not worth it. They aren't worth it. The level of coming out of college of the receivers is so much higher, and there's so many more of them. All right, coin flip's done. Let's jump into the first half. We are going to start in the AFC East for the first 2 podcasts. Today we're going to cover the Buffalo Bills, and then we're also going to cover the New York Jets. Now, you may ask the question, why do something like this? Well, really simple. Like I said, there's not a ton of content right now. And the last podcast that I did was about the draft. But this is basically to refresh your memory. This is the primer for the upcoming season. These are going to be a little bit shorter. You know, not really worried about the long time, but I want to get into a rhythm with these. And without further ado, let's kick it off. Here we go. So for the Buffalo Bills' current projected depth chart that we have available, Josh Allen is obviously the number 1 QB. Then Mitchell Trubisky is the second string. Then you have at running back. This is actually a little bit interesting. James Cook is currently the number 1. Ray Davis, the running back from Kentucky, is currently slotted number 2. Ty Johnson, the journeyman running back, 3. And Darrionton Evans is number 4. Then you have the receivers, and this is going to be the talk of most everybody that you hear in this offseason. Honestly, I'm not going to, and here's why. I'm going to say this about the receivers. Khalil Shakir, great slot receiver. Keon Coleman, 6'4" kid with a head on his shoulders. Curtis Samuel, really solid number 2 option. Most could say he could be a number 3, but he's 6'1". He's a number 2 option. He is a comp to Gabe Davis. Okay? Then you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Chase Claypool, Mack Hollins. That's your 6 receivers. 6. And if you want to go to the other ones, you got Justin Shorter, KJ Hamler, Andy Isabella. That's 9. Buffalo's receivers are not what I believe is going to be the problem. Really don't. I don't. There's a lot of people are going to be commenting on how will the receiver room hold up. You got veterans, you got young guys. You know, I understand that Valdez-Scantling really didn't do much. I get it. Like, come on. At some point, it's just about being the veteran in the room. And you got Keon Coleman needs a veteran. Valdez-Scantling, there. Mack Hollins, veteran, was with Atlanta, worked with Drake London. It matters. The tight end, Dalton Kincaid, no shock. Dalton Kincaid has taken over the top spot over Dawson Knox. I think that's the right move. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. I think that is 100% the right move. Quentin Morris is the 3rd string tight end. Then we have a fullback, Reggie Gilliam, which honestly I think you're going to be hearing his name a little bit more, and more because of the fact that kickoffs are going to be there, and I think he's going to be one of the kickoff coverage guys. So you can see him a lot more with tackles, but doesn't really do much offensively. But you think when they want to go power, he's there to be able to be the big body in the way. Then you got left tackle. We have Dion Dawkins, starter. Duh, absolute. Love Dion. That was one of the best things the Bills ever did. The backup to Dion is Ryan Van Denmark, and then Tylen Grable. Their left guard, David Edwards, big old David Edwards. Alec Anderson is backing him up, and then Keontae Bills is the 3rd string guard currently. Connor McGowan is the center with Cedric Van Pran Granger. Yes, every time I pick this guy up in Madden, it's hilarious. I always laugh. But he is a really good. So here's something that I want to mention about the offensive line. So we've only done 3. We've done left tackle, left guard, center. The backup, Cedric, can actually play both guard positions. And he is very experienced. He does know what needs to be done. So you've got, then on the right guard, you got Osiris Torrance with Kevin Jarvis. A little bit of a question mark. You got Spencer Brown on the right tackle with Lionel Collins as the backup, or Lael Collins, not Lionel, Lael Collins as the backup. So there's some experience on the 2nd string for the Buffalo Bills. The injuries have happened. I hope, injuries are going to happen. The offensive line with who they've got as their 2nd string have two guys that can sub in at the tackles, at the guard, and at the center. In fact, Collins could play guard as well. And honestly, may be the better option over Fran Granger for the guard. Honestly. And then Travis Clayton is the third string right tackle. So that is the offense. The offense for the Buffalo Bills, like I said, you're going to hear about the receiver room. You're going to hear about the receiver room all the dang time. I'm not getting hung up on the receiver room. I'm not. They made a trade cap-wise, future-wise, that works. You've got Keon Coleman, cheap. Curtis Samuel, 3 years. Khalil Shakir, he's still got 3 years. It was the right move to keep the money where the money needs to be, because you got James Cook and now Ray Davis as the running backs as well. The offense, honestly, I don't question it. Is Coleman going to go through ups and downs? Potentially, but I'm not really worried. Now, let's go defense. They run a base 4-3 defense. There is nothing tricky about this defense, and there are potentially some holes. And we're going to go over those right now. So you got, on one side, Greg Rousseau. I mean, this guy is a prototypical 4-3 rushing defensive end, but very smart as well. Dawuane Smoot is the backup to him, and then Casey Toohill is the backup there at third string. One defensive tackle is Daquan Jones with the backup Austin Johnson. And then the third string, Eli Ankou. And then the other defensive tackle, big ol' Ed Oliver with the backup Dwayne Carter and Deshaun Williams. Now, here's where it actually gets a little bit interesting, and not interesting necessarily because of a problem, but interesting because this is how the Bills have set this up. Now, this is the last year for Von Miller's contract, which I have said last year. I said this multiple times. Von Miller's contract will be what restricts the Bills' abilities this year. I said that leading into the offseason last year. I said it in the offseason multiple times. His contract is why the Bills can't do anything. Okay? So, they're going to protect their money. How do you do it? AJ Epinesa is currently the starter on the depth chart, above Von Miller. What does that do? It saves Von Miller for when you need him. Now, I have had this thought, and I understand people are going to go, there's no way that's the case. Okay, let me play out a scenario for you. Would you rather have a Von Miller in snow or a Von Miller in a dome? I know, the answer is really stupid. Duh, you want Von Miller in the dome. He's faster, older players are able to move better, makes sense. That's kind of my point. Von Miller is legitimately there only for the Super Bowl. He's there for good weather. He's there for the games that they need him to come in and help be an exclamation point. Daquan Jones, more than Ed Oliver, I think they can move Greg inside to defensive tackle on third down. Their rush package, I believe, will be Rousseau, Oliver, Epinesa, and Von Miller. And I think the stunting abilities of that front four is going to be wild. The problem is going to be behind them. I don't like their back seven. I know everybody normally talks about their front seven. With this Bills team, it is a front four and then a back seven. Because you've got behind you Matt Milano, who, let's just be honest, injuries have played a huge thing. They do have a solid backup to Matt Milano, though. They have Deion Jones, who has plenty of experience. He's a professional. He's got, he's very smart. So they do have a backup to Matt Milano. But then you've got Terrell Bernard. Backing up him is Balin Spector. Then you've got Nicholas Morrow, who is kind of past the being a legitimate linebacker phase. He's really past that. I don't think he's got nearly as much as what the Bills are hoping. The Bills are hoping that he's able to lock down one side. He struggles in coverage, really struggles in coverage. Nicholas Morrow is a very bad cover linebacker. He's much better towards the run, but the front four is going to dominate that. So I think Morrow's going to end up being a blitzing backer when they need to blitz. But the front four, once again, is going to do really good. I love their front four. Now, when you get past the linebacker, you get into the secondary, okay? You got Taylor Rapp. Solid. This is not the problem here, okay? Got Taylor Rapp, Cam Lewis. That is 1, 2, first string, second string for the strong safety. And you got Mike Edwards and Cole Bishop, first string, second string for free safety. Young, though. I'm worried about the youth with some of the game plans and route combinations that they will be facing. Now, their corners, Rasul Douglas, Teron Johnson. They don't have a good second. They've got Kyer Elam and DeQuain Hardy. Okay? Then they have Christian Benford is their, Taron Johnson's the nickelback. Christian Benford is currently labeled as their right corner. The back end worries me on Buffalo. Rasul Douglas is a hot and cold guy. When he goes through a hot streak, don't throw at him. Like, this is a guy that can rip off 6 interceptions in 8 games. But then the other 9, he'll maybe get 0. Legitimately, 0. He looks good in 8 games, makes the flashy moves, but he'll disappear the other 9. So that's kind of the issue that the Bills have. I'm more worried about their back end. Their defense is what bothers me. Their division, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. Really, only the Dolphins have an offensive, at least an offensive mind at head coach that could really potentially beat them. I don't think the Jets can. I don't. Even with Aaron Rodgers. Definitely don't think the Patriots can. My entire thing right now is Miami's their number 1 threat. And that's it. That's it. Now, I don't know if they can make another move for another receiver. Ayuk, Devontae Adams. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But it'll be interesting to see. So let's close this out with special teams. Tyler Bass is once again going to be the kicker, and Sam Martin is your punter. So that is the current depth chart for the Buffalo Bills. That is for the Buffalo Bills. Now, we go to the New York Jets. This one is the quarterback, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. Progressing well, surgeries well, blah, 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 blah. Should be okay day 1. I'm not going to dive into all that right now, okay? Depth chart is Aaron Rodgers first, Tyrod Taylor, Smart move by the Jets, honestly, to go get Taylor. Very, very able backup. He can win you games. He's competent. He's able to do this. Jordan Travis, the rookie from Florida State, is the third string quarterback at this point. Your running backs, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, the rookie, Isaiah Davis, and then fourth string, I'm not even going to try to see his name. It's Israel Ab. We're just sticking with that. Israel Ab. Now, I do have a question here. The receiver room is a little bit interesting. Garrett Wilson, hands down, he can be a number one. I think he's in the same light right now as CeeDee Lamb was. He's got to prove he can do it this year, but I think he's going to continue to get a break. If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, I think he's going to get a break on it. I don't think they're going to, most won't jump on him. So I will say that. But I do like Garrett Wilson. I think he's a solid receiver, and I do like him. And I think he does get help. The problem is they got another injury. The Jets struggle with injuries, and they get another receiver who's been injured a ton, Mike Williams. Injured a ton. But they got him to be able to take pressure off of Garrett Wilson. If Mike Williams is healthy, let me be very clear. If Mike Williams is healthy and Aaron Rodgers is healthy and Breece Hall is healthy and Garrett Wilson is healthy, the Jets offense does have a little bit of firepower skill-wise. Their slot receiver is Xavier Gibson. Not much. They still have Allen Lazard. Okay. Jason Brownlee, Malachi Conley, but that's about it. Okay. Their tight end right now, Tyler Conklin. Jeremy Ruckert is the backup. Fullback, Nick Bawden, long-time fullback in the NFL. All right, now we're going to go to the offensive line, and this is really where it's going. This is going to be where it all comes down to. The health of Aaron Rodgers is fine. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He's not going to be running around. Maybe he does, and I could be completely wrong. He could end up running a ton. Maybe. The offensive line for the Jets is going to control how easy success will come for a healthy Jets team. Tyron Smith, great left tackle. Olu Fashanu, currently on the depth chart, is sitting as the backup. Then you have John Simpson, left guard. Xavier Newman backing him up. Joe Tippmann and Wes Schwarber are your centers. Right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker. That's a question mark health-wise. And then you've got backing up that guard, Max Mitchell. Then you have your right tackle that you got from the Ravens, Morgan Moses. Now, I like Morgan Moses. You guys watch my free agent or listen to my free agency podcast, you'll know when Morgan Moses was traded for, I liked the move. I like Moses. I think he's solid. I'm not saying great. I think he's solid. As long as he's healthy, I think you're good. Really do. So the offense it's all about health. And you're talking about health from the fact that Tyrone Smith hasn't been healthy. Elijah Vera Tucker, Morgan Moses, I mean, could be. They're older. Really, you're only talking about health when it comes to the New York Jets offense and the entire skill position package that they have. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Breece Hall, Aaron Rodgers, Tyler Conklin. They don't have a great tight end. They could have definitely used an upgrade at tight end. I will 1,000% give that one to you. Tight end definitely could have been upgraded. But that's where I think they currently fit. All right, now let's go on defense because I like this defense. Man, do I like this defense. I just hope they don't end up getting overtired. Because I believe this defense could keep the offense in games. On one side, you've got Jermaine Johnson. Love him. Then you got Javon Kinlaw. I love him. I do. I love Javon Kinlaw. I knew the 49ers were going to have to let him walk. They let more than just him walk, which also ended up benefiting the Jacksonville Jaguars. But nonetheless, Javon Kinlaw is one defensive tackle. Quinnen Williams is another defensive tackle. Your second string in defensive tackle is Solomon Thomas and Leki Fotu. Just big guys. It's your third down run stuffing guys. It's guys that you're only going to need 10 to 12 plays a game out of. But they're going to give you those 10 to 12. They're big bodies. They're not easily moved. I love it. Then your other end is Hassan Reddick. Like, that is a defensive line. If Jermaine Johnson is not a bust, which I don't believe he is, Jermaine Johnson will be very, very beneficial for the Jets. And I think he will benefit from Robert Saleh. Now, there are linebackers. You've got Jameis Sherwood, C.J. Mosley, Quincy Williams. Your backups, honestly, not great. So I will say the Jets don't have depth on the majority of their positions. Defensive tackle, they got two veterans sitting behind the starting two defensive tackles. You got Will McDonald sitting behind Hassan Reddick, so that is a veteran as well. The linebackers, not that great. Really isn't. Really not that great. You got Chaz Surratt, Sam, screw it. I don't look these things up. I told you, this is all live. I don't look any of this stuff up early. Maybe I should. I have no clue how in the world you say this last name. No clue. So we're going to call him Sam Egg. And then you got Zaire Barnes. Okay. The linebacker depth isn't great. And then you go to corner. But we know who you got for corner. You got Sauce. Sauce Gardner's out there. Yes. And then on the other side, they got DJ Reed. Yes. Nickelback is Michael Carter. Then, now you're getting questionable. Isaiah Oliver, the previous pick from the Atlanta Falcons, is now over here as well. But you don't have anybody there behind. Your starting safeties are Chuck Clark and Tony Adams. And you've got Ashton Davis as your second string and Jarek Bernard Converse as your second string. So the ultimate takeaway from the Jets is you get injured. If that guy can't 75% fill the hole, you're done. There's not a lot of depth. And I'm sorry, the way that they've built the team, the offense is older. The defense, I love the youth. But I think the defense with the defensive play scheme, they got veterans. CJ Mosley will absolutely hold it down at linebacker if he can stay healthy. We got to mention that. You guys are going to hear me say all year long, not worried. The glass box doesn't worry me. Well, the glass box is injuries to a lot of these players are glaring possibilities. And I'd say the biggest weakness for the Jets is depth. Your starter goes out of the position. Yeah, you've got guys there to fill in. I don't think you've got the level. If DJ Reed goes down, Sauce Gardner is still there. That's fine. We're just going to throw at the other guy constantly. Because we know your second string over there ain't going to be able to do jack squat. Michael Carter as your nickel back. Like nickel sets, Carter is much better in the zone, but one-on-one he gets beat. His hips get turned really quick. So the reality check is they're only 2-3 injuries away from it not looking good. And that's just the reality, guys. That's just how this team currently is. So there's the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Two teams seemingly going in opposite directions. The Jets need to make the playoffs sometime soon. You'd think they'd be able to make the playoffs in, a couple more times in a quarter century than they have. It's actually pretty bad. It really is pretty bad. All right, let's wrap this up. Final thoughts. Doing two teams, looking at the time right now, looks like we'll actually be able to do full episodes. So, final thoughts. I want to leave you with this overarching thought of looking at the depth charts. As a football fan, we love the stars. The stars are what make us buy the tickets, buy the merch. They are what make us excited for our team. But I want to bring in the reality that is sitting underneath those superstars. Without them, they can't do what they do. And you may think you're talking a lot more than just football, aren't you? That is absolutely correct. The thought I want to leave you with today is make sure to thank the guy that at work in a organization, the volunteer. Make sure to thank the guy below you. Make sure to thank the little guys. Because without them, you'd have more to do. They are the ones that take the pressure off of you. We all work hard. There's some of you that may be lazy, fine, whatever. I don't know. Just assuming. We all work for a living. We all work hard. We all want what we want. But make sure to thank the guy below you. The guy that just shows up, the employee that just shows up, does what they're supposed to do to make your job easier. The little guys matter. And that is my final thought for this podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your evening. Hope it is blessed. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and like the podcast so that I can help grow the analytics here on YouTube. Thank you so much. For Sports Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out.